As I said, Advait, or in fact, any philosophy, if it is not useful in our daily life, then why should we be interested? We are interested in something which should become helpful to our life. And I am now forgetting names, but there is this Swamiji whose YouTube video links I have sent many times. He says very clearly that Vedant is so useful. Vedant is unlike Hindu Dharma. Hindu Dharma, Jain Dharma, any other Dharma, it tells after death you will get so and so. If you live so and so manner, if you give dakshina to your Brahmin, you do this, you do that, and there is yam niyam, means there are 21 different niyams. You follow all this, then after death you may get God, or you may get moksha. Swami Sarvapriyananji, that is the correct name. Sarvapriyananji very clearly says, Vedant says that you are God. Right now, here, you are God. Now, then he goes on and explains why we do not think we are God. Okay, there is that whole philosophy that is called Vedantic philosophy. And I'm just repeating what I have said earlier. All our Upanishads ultimately tell us the same thing, Advait. Advait means you, me, everyone is Brahman, okay? And Brahman is joy itself. Sat Chit Anand means Brahman is all the truth, Brahman is the knowledge, and Brahman is pure bliss. Okay. Then why do we feel limitations? Why do we feel lack of joy, frustrations, and all that? These are the things which more or less Upanishads don't explain. Upanishads main statements. Of course, there are some Upanishads which try and explain, but conversation with God, with those 10 volumes and almost 3,000-4,000 pages worth of dialogues and all that, it explains in detail the entire philosophy. How did a Christian person living in America wrote about Veda? Well, he has never read Veda. Probably now he would have read, but 30 years back when he started writing this book, Conversation with God, he had not read Veda. Okay. The hypothesis is that all the good people get the same message irrespective of geography and irrespective of history. Now they will tell their message. We may not understand it fully because our capacity to understand and the capacity of a refined person is much more. But conversation with God very clearly does not lay down any rules at all. Okay. Neil Donald Walsh, he had married 4 times. So 3 times divorces, and he was not faithful to his wife. And there were so many other problems. But he was frustrated. In frustration, he sought questions in the air. And then one day, as if God asked him, are you just shooting your questions or you want answers? And of course, Neil said, no, of course I want answers. And then the whole dialogue began. And that is the most interesting story, the way he has explained. This Conversation with God, book 1, does explain the Vedantic Advait principle. I have gifted it to at least 1,000 people by now. Many people, my personal relations, close relations, whom I gifted, they found it very difficult to understand. So I think there is an entry barrier, as we call it. जो Patanjali Yoga Sutra mein, it says you follow Ashtanga Yoga, including Yam, Niyam, Sadhana, and all those things. Every religion has its own set of rules. If you follow those rules, then only you understand the higher levels of philosophy. Our Dharma Gurus know that people like to talk about principles. Very few people like to implement them in practice. So, I mean, I have seen Atul Ambawat. Mittal Patel, Adik Kadam. Now, some of these people, even Vaishali Chavan, I have not introduced here. Someday we will have the opportunity. These are the people who have tremendous courage to question any hypothesis. After questioning, after discussions, if they like the hypothesis, if they accept it, then they can implement it. They can go all the way to implement. And these are the people who can understand philosophy of the higher level. But we try to understand this with whatever are our limitations. Let us try to understand what is the philosophy. Okay. I have sent a few notes. One important note which I have sent is where I have recommended to watch one video broadcast by Chinmaya Mission. It is about Dara Siko. And as we say in Bombay Chartered Account Society conferences, nobody has seen it probably except Ashok Bhai. How many people have seen the video?
Sir, little bit partial.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now what is this video about? The video is about, as we know, Dara Siko was the brother of, one second. Huh? Yeah, he was brother of Aurangzeb. Dara Siko being the elder brother, he was, as per the tradition, entitled to the throne after his father's death. But Aurangzeb, being as greedy as he was, he jailed his father, killed Dara Siko, and he became the Badshah of India. Okay. Now, this video is about Aurangzeb first arresting Dara Siko because he just came with a small troop of his military, got Dara arrested, and then once he announced that I am the king, so he was accepted as the king, and Dara was not to fight. Now, Dara Siko had met Hindu philosophers, he had studied Vedanta, he digested it with the greatest of the uh, gurus, and he had translated our Sanskrit Upanishads into Persian language. And that Persian language books were then caught over by European people, translated into probably Latin and English and all those languages. And there were German philosophers who were really highly impressed about it. Now, in this particular video, Dara is in the jail. Dara and his son, two of them are in jail. And Aurangzeb had already announced that Dara is to be killed, his son also to be killed. Then the son is asking father that, Papa, how do you feel at peace? You don't seem to be perturbed at all that first of all, you were entitled to the kingdom. Instead of kingdom, you are put into jail. And now you are going to be killed. I am going to be killed. And you are not disturbed at all. What is the issue? That is when Dara Siko explains to his son the core principles of Advait Vedanta. Now, if you will watch it after this introduction, probably you will appreciate it. Our Vedantic principles say whatever is happening in your life is a drama which you have decided as the producer and which you are acting as the actor. Okay, because you want to experience certain kinds of experiences. So that is why you are doing it. Beyond drama, it has no value. That is one way of telling it. There are several ways of telling it. And just to make a point that these things can be said in so many ways, I have put up a small little, what we say, PPT. So just allow me half a minute and I'll present that PPT before you.
Ashok bhai, this video can be watched by kids like 7 year
Yes,
old.
yes, 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 yes. But that he may not understand everything, but yes.
That's okay. That's okay.
Because in that 20 minutes, he is summarizing several Upanishadic principles. So one cannot really digest it unless you have read a few Upanishads and understood it. But it is interesting to see how could he be cool and quiet in the eyes of death. He would be killed probably in 2 days' time, 3 days' time, and yet he was cool. I mean, not only cool, he was joyous. He was not perturbed at all. How could that be? That is the issue. And that is where I'm saying that Vedant is useful in our daily life. It is not an abstract philosophy. Because Dara had understood it, in the face of crisis, he was not disturbed. And we have had so much discussion, and not only in this our philosophy study circle, outside also, even if I say, "Theek hai na, abhi now I have got whatever I wanted, I am of the ripe age, I don't mind if I get death." And then immediately relatives and friends will say, "What are you talking? Don't even talk about death." So people cannot accept even a talk of death. And if somebody dies in the family, some friend, somebody, we are
Rashmin,
seriously disturbed.
Rashmin.
Now here is Dara, who himself is going to be killed, and yet he is cool and quiet. Okay. Now this is one thing. The point right now, I'm on a short point that Vedant can be expressed in so many different ways. We have earlier discussed about Anekantvad. So as, hello Abir, how are you? This is Atul's son there, Abir, a very nice singer. He loves Mohammad Rafi and sings on Mohammad Rafi's songs. Yeah. So, okay. The Vedant says you are God. Okay. Now, whether it is Swami Sarvapriyanandji, Swami Tadatmanandji, all the Hindu sadhus talking of Vedant, or Jain sadhus saying that you are Atma. Okay. And don't consider you are the body, you are Atma. Now, then Jain principle actually says don't worship God. Okay. But Hindu principles, Hindu Dharma says you can worship God. In fact, worshipping God is going to be helpful to you. Okay. So you are Brahman, which includes all the names of gods which we might have heard, whether it is Ram, Krishna, Mahavir, Buddha, Jesus Christ, Muhammad Paigambar, whatever names you give, they are all included within the concept of Brahman. And that Brahman you are. That is one statement. The second statement is you worship God. Now, between these two statements, there can be so many things. Sorry, I'll just put off my phone. Okay. Now you take a circle, okay, and you are starting from one point. You say that I am a man, I am limited with so many restrictions and all that, so many ideas, desires I may have, may not get fulfilled. Okay, now, and I am worshipping God. Then you take a full circle and come back to say that I am myself God. Now, between these two extreme statements, there can be several ways. Okay. Now, in a circle, I'm just giving here a circle. In a circle, if we take the surface of the circle, we normally divide it by 360 degrees. Okay. But from the ordinary circle, you go to a sphere. Okay. Now you take vertically, that sphere can be divided into how many surfaces? And each surface can have 360-degree angle. That is vertically. Then you divide it horizontally. There will be how many surfaces? And each surface again will have 360-degree angles. Then you consider it diagonally. And diagonally you can consider in so many different ways. The point is, one circle or one sphere can be viewed at from 100 different ways, 1,000 different ways. And that is our real life when we go into spirituality. So whereas some sadhus say that Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya, then Sant like Tukaram will say Brahma bhi Satya hai or Jagat bhi Satya hai. He has said very nicely in Marathi कि ये हे जगत नहीं माया, ये तो ईश्वरची काया. So here the point is Jagat itself is God, and at the same time the two. Now I'll just close this. I don't know if I
stop sharing.
ક્યાંથી કરવાનું છે stop sharing?
જ્યાંથી sharing કરે ત્યાંથી. ને હજી તમારું સ્ક્રીન શેરિંગ માં છે, તમારે ખાલી પ્રેઝન્ટેશન
સાહેબ જગતમાં આ જ તકલીફ છે, શરૂ કરવું સહેલું છે પણ એન્ડ કરવું બહુ અઘરું હોય છે.
સર ઉપર વ્યૂ ઓપ્શન્સ છે, વ્યૂ ઓપ્શન.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that was the story about Dara Shiko. I'm telling you one more very interesting thing. Can you measure your joy? Can you measure love? Would somebody like to respond to this query?
No, you cannot.
You cannot, right? Now, Taittiriya Upanishad, okay, it gives Anand Sanhita. Anand, joy, Samhita, meaning he has given a way of measuring Anand, your joy to be measured. Okay. So how do they measure? What is the Anand Sanhita? I'm telling in very short here. There are big essays written on it. Taittiriya. Taittiri meaning chakli, sparrow. Okay. Or the name is, I mean, there's Hindu Dharma, so many animals and birds and all those come in the stories. Okay. I mean, probably it is very deliberate and I like it, but that's another story. So here the Rishi says, you imagine the joy of everybody on the earth. Everybody does not mean just human beings, animals, trees, fish, all life. You, for a moment, you ignore their unhappiness or misery or anything. So whoever is happy, take a total of their happiness. That is happiness or joy in the bhumi, on the earth. Now, then he says, gives another calculation. You take a measurement from earth to sun, and then that measurement you multiply to the bhumi joy. And like that, you go on adding the joy which may be existing in the total Brahmand. That total joy is Brahman. You are that Brahman. You are joy itself. Vedanta says, whatever you are experiencing today, please understand that this is your voluntarily chosen experience. Forget about the law of karma. If you talk of Vedanta, forget about the law of karma. There is no law. It is a concept. Okay. That concept has limited application. Now, we have discussed in the past building blocks, even under income tax to reach up to international taxation. There are building blocks. Only after you have understood those blocks, then can you get up to the ultimate philosophy or ultimate principles in international taxation. Similarly, in philosophy, Vedanta is the ultimate. Now, before reaching that, we need to have so many concepts in our mind, the clear concept. So what I'm now saying is two exact opposites can be simultaneously valid and true. The illustrations which we have seen are, I'm just briefly mentioning, in Mumbai, right now, it is evening time. In San Francisco, it is morning time. Okay. Now, how can we say that it is evening as well as morning? We now understand that yes, it can be true. It is qua the geographic position. You are where you are, that will determine whether it is evening or morning. At the same time, also understand that on the North Pole and on the South Pole, this principle does not apply. On the North Pole, right now it is day, they have a 6 months day. And South Pole, it must be right now a 6 months night. Okay. So one principle said does not universally apply. This also is part of the Anekantvad. That so many things, what we see. So just now, in a sphere, you can have 1,000 different ways of looking at the sphere or analyzing or dissecting the sphere. In the same way, any philosophy can be looked at in different ways. Now, the principle of karma, it is very valid in Vyavhar. Our life in Sansar is Vyavhar. The ultimate truth, as they say under Vedanta, is Nishchayana. That is Brahman, this is Sansar. So at Brahman level, you and I are pure joy. We are omnipotent, omnipresent, etc., etc. But in Vyavhar, yes, the law of karma applies to us. If we do something wrong, that something wrong, we will have to face the consequences. But whereas in our Indian philosophy, all the Indian religions say that you will have to pay back either this birth or the next birth or the next or after 1,000 births, but you cannot escape the consequences of your karma. Now, conversation with God differs. Conversation with God, God tells Neil that there is no karma bandhan. आपको कर्म का ऋण चुकाना है, ऐसा कोई प्रिंसिपल नहीं है. So what does that mean? Okay, I'm again giving another illustration. Supposing you are playing badminton. Okay, you are the sports person on the ground. And I don't know, probably there are some 16 sets or something. Okay. So if you decide to play all the 16 sets, then your score in the first will go over to the next, second will go over to the next. And like that, at the end of the 16 sets, it will be decided whether you have won or you have lost. Okay. Now, in this game called Sansar, you have voluntarily chosen how many births and death cycles you want to experience. You want to experience 200? Okay. At the end of 200, you will be back to Brahman. You want to experience 1,000? Okay, you will experience 1,000 births and deaths. Now, for that cycle of 1,000 births and deaths, your principle of karma will pursue you. Okay. But whenever you decide, you can merge with Brahman, as Vidurji have said in Mahabharata, moksha tat kshanam. It is your choice. You decide when you want moksha. But Again, in Vyavhar, this principle remains a principle abstract. We cannot experience it. Then how do we reconcile these statements? I have written a detailed note on two opposites being simultaneously true. Should I just read out that list? Consistently, I am emphasizing, my whole emphasis here is that Advait is not an abstract theory. Advait is very much practical in life. If we understand, having understood, for example, Swami Vivekananda understood it, Raman Maharshi realized Advait, Ramakrishna Paramahans realized Advait. Having realized what? They did not do any magic. They did not say, okay, chalo Himalaya idhar se utha ke udhar rakh deo. No, there is no question of magic. Even after that, they live normal life, but a life full of peace and joy. Okay. They have come on this earth to experience something, to teach us something. Raman Maharshi or Ramakrishna Paramahans or Vivekananda, these people are called avatar. They came here to give the message or to explain the message of Vedanta to thousands and thousands of people. Okay. So I'm on this point that two opposites, like principle of karma is valid or principle of karma is non-entity. It has no force. Okay. These two opposites can be simultaneously true. Take a coin, okay, a 1 rupee coin, 5 rupee, 10 rupee, any coin. Both sides are completely different. And yet they constitute only one coin. Okay. Take a drama on the stage. On the stage, the actors perform in a particular manner. The producer of the drama has sat down, he has written, got a story, and the actors have to follow the story. And the actors have to behave according to their roles only. As we discussed earlier, in the Sole film, Amitabh Bachchan and Amjad Khan were enemies and they fought against each other. But after the action is done, behind the screen, okay, out of the stage, they are friends. And they stay together, they enjoy together. And as we have earlier also discussed, Amitabh was a very good friend of Amjad Khan. Amjad Khan was sort of a poor man. Amitabh was a rich man. And whenever Amjad was in difficulties, Amitabh had financially helped him also. Tremendously and generously helped him. Were they enemies? They were enemies only on the stage, only for the drama. Were they good friends? Yes, outside the drama, they were very good friends. Okay. The same story goes here. Is Mr. Putin and Mr. Biden, the Russian president and the American president, are they enemies? Is Russia killing Ukrainian people? Are Russians enemies of Ukrainian people? Yes, on the stage, in the drama called Prithvi, Sansar, whatever we want to call, they are enemies. Beyond the drama, behind the curtain, at Brahman level, they are only one. We are all one. Now, that statement itself goes against the grammar. We requires plural. So we say we are. Then we say we are one. Now, one cannot have plurality. Okay. But this is where the principles, they face war. Okay. So when you want to say Vedant, the language becomes our constraint. This is also said by God to Neil Donald Walsh that words have limitations. And within those limitations, whatever can be conveyed has been conveyed. But that is good enough for us. That is more than good enough for us. If we can understand CWG1 also, it is very good. If we can understand CWG 1 to 10, that will be fantastic. The coin is an illustration, drama is an illustration. Look at the ocean. Okay. on the surface there are waves, constant waves. Constantly the water keeps moving and moving and moving. There are so many bubbles which are formed and bubbles which are destroyed. One wave goes down and another wave comes up. Does the second wave eat up the first wave? Is there a death of the wave? Is there a death of the bubble? Is there now in a bubble? Let me go into science. How is a bubble formed? Water has surface tension. This is what we had studied in science. That surface tension we can see on a cup of tea also. जो उसके ऊपर तर हो जाती है, एक लेयर हो जाता है मिल्क के ऊपर, वो सब कैसे तैरता है, उसके ऊपर आप एक सेफ्टी पिन रख दो तो वो फ्लोट करेगी. But in absence of that layer, the pin will sink into the milk or the tea. Okay. Now this surface tension of a drop of water, you take a drop of water, because of surface tension, the water acquires a particular shape. If you take in a tube or somehow the water is dropping, then every drop of water has a particular shape. Call that surface tension as ego. Within Akhanda Brahmand, ego takes place. Within the ego, I, Rashmin, feel that I am Rashmin. My whom, that is my ego. The moment I have acquired ego, I am constrained because I am feeling I am body, mind, and intellect. I am very intelligent or I am stupid. That is the quotient of intelligence. My mind is roaming around everywhere into international tax, international economics, then water management, then audit, and all those things. That is my mind. Okay. The moment I use the word my, that is ego. Okay. When my ego is destroyed, then I merge with Ananta Sagar. Then I merge with Brahman. Now, breaking that ego, as we have seen today only in WhatsApp forwards. Okay, Atul is not on WhatsApp, but other friends who are on the WhatsApp, we have seen that even for the greatest of sadhus, breaking down ego is very difficult. Okay. Now, as long as I have my ego, I am a drop of water. What is the potency of a drop of water? Minuscule, nothing. Okay. But when the ego is destroyed and the water merges with the Anant Sagar, its potency, its existence, everything is like the Sagar, Anant. It is infinite. Okay. This is the difference between Vyavhar or Sansar and Brahman. Brahman means, by definition, all inclusive. Everything is included in Brahman. I can go on. There are so many things, but I will email it to you.
Sir, can I share a small experience? Many of the participants here might have experienced this. So, sir, I have started serious meditation for the last 2.5 years or so. And now, most days when I meditate, the kind of feeling I get, like, first of all, almost every day I tears start flowing out of my eyes. And then I was just telling my friend about
we are taking snacks here. I can offer you if you come here.
And then there's many a times I feel like ocean, start feeling like mountains. Then I also start feeling that the whole universe is within me. So these are the kind of feelings come, and tears start flowing. So I can relate to these feelings, and of course, I mean, it is not throughout the day, but at least for a few hours, Yeah.
But you
Okay.
are, because you are highly advanced, okay, you can feel it. So many people will sit in meditation for hours and hours, they will not feel it. But yes, this is the feeling ultimately what Vivekanand ji have explained and so many other people have talked about. This is the goal. Yes. Good.
Sir, you will email the listener. I like the analogy of the Malai, because
Yeah.
that is so important of
Yeah.
the disintegration between the ego and the I.
Correct. You are right. Absolutely. Now, Alpa has also attended yoga courses and all that. In fact, she has regularly studied it, and now she is a yoga teacher and she is teaching me. So I am her student.
We are your student for life, sir.
Okay. Now, so whatever we have discussed so far, if we can summarize it, what I'm saying is Advait is practical in life. It is not something high up in the sky. It is not meant exclusively for those sadhus who have gone to Himalaya and they are living in some cave or ashram. It is meant for everybody. It is very practical. If we understand it and then live our regular life, what we have earlier also discussed, निश्चय को समझो व्यवहार में रहो. Okay. How many people will understand it? Very, very few. See, you look at most of the Dharma Gurus, excepting those big names which I have said, Swami Chinmayanand, Tapovan Swami, and that whole order of philosophy, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. These people talk of Advait. Other people talk of Puran, of stories, of mythology, because mythologies attract. And that is one illustration which we have earlier discussed. You know, I'm making a statement, a hypothetical statement, but this is my belief. The story of Barbaric, that is a Puranic story. That is not Mahabharata story. It is not there in Mahabharata. Okay, because Mahabharata is supposed to be history, whereas Puran are mythology. Now, in Barbaric story, it is said that Barbaric was one of the sons of Bhim, and he was so expert in archery that he could turn the scales. If he joined Pandav, then Pandav would win. If he joined Kaurav, then Kaurav would win. Okay. And he was not committed to even Bhim. He was not committed to anybody. Okay. So even before the war started, Krishna Bhagavan said, I will kill you. So Barbaric knew that he could not fight Bhagwan. If Krishna is going to kill him, he will be killed. But Barbaric says, I'm making one request, it is the last wish before death. He says, I want to witness the entire war. So Krishna Bhagavan beheads him. His head is hanged up high up in a tree branch. And throughout the war, for 18 days, his head watches. Because his body has been cut out, he cannot participate in war. He cannot change the scales. His head watches the entire war. At the end of the war, he says, all these Pandava who had won, they went to him and they asked him, what have you witnessed? He said, what is there to witness? There is no Kaurav, no Pandav, there are no million people here, nobody is fighting. It is Krishna Bhagavan on both sides playing the drama. Okay. So what is the message? There is one God. God is a convenient term to use. Vedanta says one Brahman, one Chaitanya. The moment you talk of Brahman and Chaitanya, you go into the realm of abstract and absurd. When you talk of God, it becomes acceptable. People understand the concept of God. People don't understand the concept of Brahman. Now, our Rishi Muni who wrote Puranic stories, they deliberately, this is purely my hypothesis, I have not read anywhere. My hypothesis is they deliberately put in absurdities and impossibilities in their stories. Now, somebody's head is cut and then that head remains alive for 18 days and watches the entire war. What nonsense. It's not possible. Okay. So the idea was that convey the message in a manner like, filmy style, drama style, so that at least people listen to the story and behind the story they get the message. What is the result? The result is there are temples of Barbaric. Barbaric has become a angel or devta to be worshipped, and there will be thousands of people who will go and worship Barbaric, right? Krishna Kumarji?
So millions of people in
Yeah.
Falgun Mas, in the month of English calendar, March month, 12th day of the Hindi Mahina. I think in one single day, minimum 15 to 16 lakhs people pay the darshan on that day. And the whole month is celebrated.
Yeah. So the whole intention of that Rishi Muni, whoever wrote the story, is wasted. The reality is he wanted to convey Advait Siddhant. That Advait Siddhant has gone for a toss. Yeah, but that is the life. And all the Dharma Gurus understand that those Rishi Munis who wrote Puranic stories were idealistic people. They did not understand. Now, if I tell the stories of Puran, whether it is barbaric or whether this or that, there are 1001 stories. I can probably attract 1,000,000 people as my audience. Okay. But anybody who talks of Vedanta, there will be 10, 15 people only. That is the way it is. Okay. So now Guruji had sent a story or a email, WhatsApp message कि भाई जैन धर्म में ऐसा लिखा है कि मृत्यु के बाद इतना कर्म भयंकर है, you will get this, that and all. हिंदू धर्म में लिखा है, सिख धर्म में लिखा है, मुस्लिम धर्म में लिखा है कि after death you will go to hell or you will go to heaven. Now, see, understand there is a very simple psychological issue. Carrot and stick is the best approach if you want to get masses involved with you. Okay. We know those criminals who turned into sadhus and they were getting millions of followers. And these sadhus became billionaires. Okay. Now, so carrot is you follow me and you will get heaven. Stick is you don't follow me and you will go to hell. Okay. All these heaven and hell stories you forget. Swami Sarvapriyananji very clearly says you are Brahman. Nobody can punish you. There is no system of punishment. There is no carrot and stick approach at all. You have voluntarily come here to experience something. What something? Whatever you have decided that you are experiencing. Okay. And that experience has an objective. What is the objective? To get the full depth that Kanubai is divine. He is joy itself. Okay. Now that joy itself, to recognize the depth of the divinity or to recognize the height of divinity, he is experiencing limitations. I am experiencing limitations. Okay, so understand limitations. Don't cry about, don't get frustrated about, don't be afraid of death. Death is your friend. This is the book. Death, Mrityu Sathe Mitrata. Okay. Mrityu Sathe Mitrata meaning friendship with death. Now, how can you be friend of death? So this is where again the opposites come in. That once we say Advait, there is no death. A wave does not die, or wave may appear to die. A bubble may appear to break down, but the substance of the wave and the bubble and the drop of water is water. That water never dies. That water keeps circulating. We have all studied the water cycle. It may change form. It may become vapor. It may become humidity. It may become ice. And the ice and the vapor look quite different. Their characteristics are completely different. Yet, in substance, ice as well as water, both, ice as well as vapor, both are water only. The water never dies. This is just an illustration. In philosophy, it is ultimate Chaitanya. It is the energy, which is the ultimate substance of all. That Higgs boson, the European countries which spend billions of dollars to find out the God particle, the ultimate smallest of the smallest thing, okay, they spend billions of dollars and then they admitted that we have come up to one particular article, we cannot go beyond that. Now, our Rishi Munis have said the ultimate, the smallest, the sukshma se sukshma substance is Chaitanya. That Chaitanya constitutes everything. Okay. Now, that is beyond words, beyond panch indriya. Okay. This sansar is experienced through the five senses by the mind, but the mind and all five senses put together can only experience sansar. They cannot experience Brahman. As long as you are on the stage, you will not be able to see behind the curtain. On the stage, you act as actors. Behind the stage, behind the curtain, when you go, it's a different game altogether. Point is, if we understand this concept and if we believe in it, then probably our frustrations, our fears, our pains get reduced. Now, getting full depth of it, conversation with God more or less says no conditions. But all our philosophers say there are conditions. And all the conditions I have summarized in my own way, that practice truth and love. And to the extent practical, you serve others. How do you serve? You serve your parents, you feed the dog, you feed the birds, you do whatever you like. But serve somebody other than yourself, other than your family. Okay, now this helps. It is not a condition, but it helps. But truth and love are two conditions. I think those are two very important conditions. But when you put love into practice, I mean, it automatically amounts to helping somebody. Now, if Alpa is teaching me pranayam, she is helping me. Okay. She is teaching 20 other people, she is helping those 20 people. Okay. Whatever way you like, you help others, it tremendously boosts your capacity to understand philosophy. Once you have understood it, assuming that you accept Advaitic principle, then beyond our 15 people, don't talk about it with anybody else because they will not understand it. They will not accept it. But within our close friend circle, people who are on the same wavelength of understanding, we can discuss it at any length. So,
An example of truth is a
sorry, your voice got cut out.
Sir,
Sorry,
example of you said love and truth are two conditions.
Yes.
So
yes.
Truth is a condition, and if you can just illustrate example, like love is service, love is giving away yourself, it is breaking down ego. Truth.
Okay. If I am permitted to give my own illustration, I decided to help the poor people. Now, initially, I started helping people with my own resources. Now, my resources are limited. Okay. So I started accepting donations. Now, it was my condition that I will take only white money. I will not accept black money. And people were laughing at me. They said, what nonsense. Now, if you want charity, if you want donation, then you go and request others to. And a person who is requesting for money doesn't put down his condition. It is the donor who puts down the condition. Okay, right? But I said, irrespective of consequences, I will not accept a single rupee in black money. In fact, the way our Friends of Dharampur group has worked out, I don't accept. Friends of Dharampur group also doesn't accept money. The trusts whom we are helping, they get the direct donation. But as far as we are involved, we will not accept black money. A trustee, if he wants, she may accept black money. It is her story, but we will not get involved into that. Okay. That is first issue. Second issue is we will not bribe anybody. Okay. We will not accept bribes, we will not give bribes. Okay. And we do not expect anything from the people whom we serve. Now, see, my job was much easier. Let us talk of Mittal Patel. Okay. Mittal, she started with zero money. She had no money. Okay. And today her job is to bring all the government grants for the benefit of the poor. Okay. So more or less when she began, she met me. And I told her all the philosophy. And she said, Rashmin bhai, you are telling all these things, but all the other trustees are saying, Baba, you need black money. You take money. I mean, I was told by somebody, लक्ष्मी का रंग अच्छा ही होता है, लक्ष्मी का रंग काला बुरा होता ही नहीं है. लक्ष्मी तो जैसे मिली वैसे ले लेने की. Okay. So I mean, she was also told like that, but more or less she followed me. And as she followed truth in practice, getting government grants without bribing, without in any way obliging the government officers, her life was very tough, most challenging. And she continued it for 10 years, not paying bribe, not accepting black money. Today, she is known as a heroine. The Prime Minister also helps her, the Chief Minister helps her, the Governor of Gujarat helps her, everybody helps. Okay. And she had done wonders. I mean, just miraculous wonders. Neither she nor any donor, nor any friend, nor family member ever imagined that she'll be able to achieve what she has achieved today. And what she has achieved today, her targets for tomorrow are 10 times more. Okay. She is unstoppable. She is behaving like magic. This is the strength of truth and love. She is committed for the poorest of the poor. She has actually selected a class which is most exploited, most suffering, helping them because her own resources, even all the donors' resources put together will be say 5 crores, 10 crores. Okay. Now she is helping, let us say 2,000 people get houses. I mean, you multiply that by 5 lakhs of rupees. That is the kind of grant government gives. What is the amount involved? It's beyond anybody's capacity. Okay. And it is actually proving true in her life. So those who watch her, meet her, talk with her and understand her, the truth, okay, we will know the strength of truth and love put together. Right? Now she is the right person for understanding philosophy to its deepest level. Now take another chartered accountant. He has got tons of black money. He advises his clients of how to get black money, how to avoid tax, and whatever games which chartered accountants play. He may be 10 times more intelligent than Mittal Patel. He will be successful in money making, but he will never understand Vedanta. There may be a politician 1,000 times more intelligent than Mittal Patel, but he doesn't mind killing somebody for his power politics. Okay. Do you think he will ever understand Advait Vedanta? The very first principle of Advait is you and me are one and the same. Harming anybody amounts to harming me myself. Okay. Now, if you understand this, how can you kill anybody? Beyond imagination, it's just not possible. Okay. Now, so those politicians will never understand Advait. Having said that they will not understand Advait, they are also parts of Brahman. They are playing a drama. At the end of their present life, on death, if the soul so wishes, it will get moksha. No conditions. During the life, see, all our efforts are that during our life we want to understand Advait. Okay. Within these limits, within these parameters, within the sansar, within the chakkar of Maya, we want to understand Advait. So we are finding it very difficult. People who have written, like Mihir Bhai said, he has published that book. Okay. After death, your body restrictions, your mind restrictions, your intellect restrictions break down. Atma, if it wishes then, and Neil Donald Walsh says, after every death, God will ask you, what is your choice? What is your choice? You voluntarily decide you will take next birth, you will take birth as a human being on earth, or you will go into highly evolved beings. You decide your choice, and accordingly you will again experience further life, or you will merge with God.
So, Rashmin, right?
Yes.
Just trying to understand one or two things. Maybe it could be a question to you only. Okay, you said somewhere today that you decided at some point of time that I will have 200 life cycles or I will have 1,000 life cycles now. Now, again, I read that Neil Donald Walsh says, yes, after your death, you will decide what is to happen. Your soul will decide what is to happen. But how do you reconcile? In its beginning of its journey, it decided I want 200 life cycles.
Yeah.
So I am today maybe 65th life cycle or 125th life cycle.
Whatever.
I have still to go 75 life cycle.
No. This is the point. As we have seen earlier, say 2-3 illustrations. During the life, you will feel constrained. Okay. Now, if you go ahead as per your original plan of 200 lives, then your principle of karma will follow you. Okay. But after every death, 200 times God will ask you, what is your choice? You are free to change your plan.
So I'm just crudely relating કે આપણે કહીએ છીએ કે
84 લાખ ભાવ.
નહીં હા સોરી
Yeah.
કે તમારા કર્મ સારા હશે તો આત્માની ગતિ સારી થશે.
Yeah.
It's purely in Gujarati, but
બરાબર,
we say કે એ જ્યારે તમારું ડેથ થાય ત્યારે તમારા આત્માને જે ગતિ આપે ને ઈ અહીંયા કરેલા તમારા એટલે તમે જે કહો છો એ હવે I mean થોડું reconcile થાય કે if you have tried to શાંતિ આપવાની કોશિશ કરી હશે, તમે કોઈને મારવાની જ કોશિશ કરી હશે, તો ત્યારે આત્માની ગતિ થઈ જ નહીં શકે. ભગવાન તમને પૂછે તો પાછો આવશે કે ભાઈ મારે ભાઈને મારવાનો બાકી છે.
Not necessary. No.
અચ્છા.
All these things during the lifetime. At the end of the life, like say you are playing a drama. In drama, Gujarati drama which I have seen, there used to be say 3 parts. Okay. So one drama, let us say Raj Kapoor had made that film, Mera Naam Joker. A very, very long film. Okay. Now today's time, there are films of 60 minutes, 70 minutes. That was a 4-hour film. The point I'm trying to make is, whenever you go behind the curtain, you have a choice. I'm not interested in this drama. I'm walking out. I'm going in the audience and sitting there and watching, or I'm getting out of the auditorium. Not concerned. Baat khatam. Yeah. It is your choice because you are Brahman. Who is going to tie you down? But once you take birth, why do you take birth? Because you have decided a set of experiences which you want to get. Now you are in a very big multinational company, in a very high position. Your Atma decided that you want to experience the chartered accountant's life. You are experiencing it. Now you cannot say, I want to tomorrow experience doctor's life. No, that's not possible. Okay, it's not practical within samsara. Quantum theory says, I don't know how many people have studied quantum theory. Quantum theory is 100 years old theory. And even today, I don't know, is it being taught in school? At least when I was in school, it was not taught. Now you are very young compared to me. You have also not studied it. Why?
Sir, quantum physics, quantum theory, it's not taught.
It is not taught, right?
Metaphysics is also not taught. તમે જેમ કેમ કહીએ છે ને આત્મા અને પેલું બ્રહ્માંડ, મેટાફિઝિક્સ બી નથી શીખવાડતા લોકો.
કરેક્ટ. ધર્મગુરુઓ મેટાફિઝિક્સ ની એટલે વેદાંતની વાત નહીં કરે, barring a few bold ones. Professors and teachers will not teach quantum theory because quantum theory goes exactly opposite to the laws of physics laid down by or told by Newton. Okay. Now, Newton has given those 3 famous laws of physics. Okay. Quantum theory says a quanta. Quantum is a plural. Quanta is singular. A quanta can travel from here to San Francisco without traveling the intermediate distance. Meaning that quanta, when it wants from here, immediately it could be in next galaxy also. Why the other side of the earth? It could be in next galaxy. Now, can we believe it? We can't believe it. So people don't understand quantum theory. I have myself tried 10 times to read it, and 10 times I have dropped it because it becomes too difficult for me to understand.
Sir, this is possible again by way of experience. Like, if we are connected, say soulmate, okay.
Yes, yes.
I can feel your pain. If I am praying for you, you will gracefully receive that energy.
Correct.
That is how it travels, and I have experienced it many times. It happens on a daily basis.
When it comes to love, love is the force that connects Vyavhar with Nischay. Sorry, एक minute.
I'll bring something.
પેલું પેપર ને પેન છે ને એ જરા અહીંયા મૂકો તો સાહેબ
ના મને નહીં જોઈતા. રૂમાલ છે.
Thank you.
Sir, this might be happening. This may be a common experience also. Like, I'll just give a very generic example. That mother. We all understand mother's love, and if the son is in US studying, and if he has some issues, and at that time he is grieving and he remembers his mother, mother will understand, sir. She will call a person without he being calling her. So I think all of us might have experienced it.
Thank you. So you see, this is a very interesting point you have made, Abdul. This is what we call telepathy. So irrespective of the distance, irrespective of the fact that our five senses cannot experience it, okay, still the mother experiences the son's pain or joy. The connecting factor is love, and love travels like quanta, ignoring the distance in between. Correct? And that is the reason why all the philosophers say love. Mahavir Bhagwan loved everybody, irrespective of whether the person was his follower or not. Buddha Bhagwan loved even Angulimal. I believe everybody knows the story. Angulimal was a dacoit. He had the hobby of killing people, cutting their fingers, and making a garland of fingers. That is why he was called Angulimar or Angulimal. Okay. And Buddha Bhagwan was going from one place to another. In between, there was a forest, and people told Buddha Bhagwan, don't go there. Okay. And Buddha Bhagwan deliberately went through that place, and Angulimal came to kill him. Now, his potency of love was such tremendous that finally Angulimal became his follower. Same way about Mahavir Bhagwan is said that story of that snake, the most poisonous snake.
Chandakoshi.
Chandakoshi, right? So Chandakoshi, he would have killed anybody just by, throwing that venom. But before Mahavir Bhagwan, he turned completely. So the potency of love is tremendous. And that is why all philosophers say that you love everybody, love without expectation, love without temptation. Now, I will elaborate little more on love. If you love universe, how can you practice untruth? It is impossible. Because if you love everybody, then your following truth becomes automatic. So then probably you can say that truth and love, everything merges into one. Serving others is expression of love only. So even service merges into love. What remains finally is love. And that is why in CWG, they repeatedly say, God is love and love is God, period. Now, Gandhiji said, truth is God and God is truth. These are just ways of expressing the same thing. Yeah, so I think
Sir, you mentioned in the email about freedom also. So I think that was related to the Darasiko story.
yeah, you are right. Sorry. Thank you for reminding me. Actually, Vedant says you and I are free. Okay. And I think yes, in our one discussion, Atul, you only had raised, somebody had raised the issue. By freedom, what do we mean? Say, I have a desire that I should be owner of a Lexus car. Okay. Do I have the freedom to go out and buy the car? No, I don't have the money. Where is the question of freedom? Now, freedom of kamana fulfillment, freedom of desire fulfillment. Okay. We feel constraints. Why do we feel constraints? That is the way sansar is designed. You and I are omnipotent and we do not realize the value of omnipotency. Hence, we experience limitations. Now, you are free to experience whatever you want to experience in the manner in which you want to experience. That is explained at length in CWG, that circumstances are such which you have designed. Now, in those circumstances, how will you react? How will you respond? That is your freedom. Okay. If I say I'm very happy, like many of you might be knowing Mr. V.S. Patil. Okay. He has been guru to thousands and thousands of chartered accountants and lawyers. Okay. He used to travel in bus. His daily practice must be few lakhs of rupees. And he was never ashamed. He would just travel in bus and he would walk on the footpath and he would, happily give money and bread and biscuit to poor children and all. That is the way he lived. Now, the point is how you respond to your circumstances will build your experience, which experiences you will remember after your death, which remembrance will highlight your joy of being omnipotent.
And now
Sir,
Vaman Avatar.
Sir Ashok Bhai, sorry.
Yes. Sorry, Ashok Bhai, you wanted to say something?
Sir Ashok Bhai has shared something on freedom.
Okay.
No, I just shared a quote because when we're talking the term freedom, actually, when we say what is freedom, what we have read, what Swami Chinmayananji always used to say is that not doing what you feel like doing is freedom. And unfortunately, it is today's generation. It is difficult to understand or digest that. How is it possible that how is it possible that if I want to do something and if I do it, that is freedom. We always give an I always say, in fact, I think I had shared this example earlier as well. Like for example, that I love any sweet or gulab jamun, I always say that. And whenever I see that gulab jamun, I feel like eating that gulab jamun.
Correct.
So when I see that gulab jamun, I eat that gulab jamun. Am I free or tied to that gulab jamun? I am tied to that gulab jamun. However, when I see that gulab jamun and I feel like eating it, but I do not eat it with full conviction, that is that freedom from that gulab jamun. And ultimately, in the larger picture, when we understand that I am not dependent on any of the gulab jamun of the world, I am actually free on that day.
So I will give an analogy, Ashok Bhai. Say somebody irritates me. Like say Alpa is irritated by Abir's behavior. Abir is Alpa's son. He does something wrong, okay, which parents don't like. Do you get irritated? Do you get angry? Do you want to beat him up? Then you are the slave of his behavior. But as I know, Atul never scolds him, Atul never fires him, Atul never beats his son. Okay. So Atul is independent of Abir's behavior. This is one measure of explanation. And Mahabharata gives a beautiful story to explain it. And people have written novels and novels on Yayati. Yayati was a man who was bent upon fulfillment of his kamana, his desires, okay, desires of all kinds, okay. And I mean, as our Hindu mythology is always, they want to say, so, he says he wanted life from his son. The son agreed to give son's life to father. So like that, Yayati lived for thousands of years. Now, whenever you read in a story that he lived for thousands of years, understand it is Puranic story. The story has a message. You forget the characters of the story, you forget the facts narrated in the story, go for the message. Ultimately, Yayati had, I mean, they would say thousands of queens and this and that, and all the joys which one could imagine he experienced. At the end of it, when after exhausting son's borrowed life also, his kamna is still not satisfied. And that is where there is a beautiful slok which Mahasi Vedvyas puts on Yayati's mouth. यज्ञ का अग्नि में घी डालने से अग्नि बुझती नहीं है और भड़कती है। इसी तरह से कामना पूर्ति आपकी कामना को संतोष नहीं देती है और भड़कती है। आपको और कामना चाहिए और कामना चाहिए और कामना चाहिए। तो if you become independent of your kamna, kamna may be for gulab jambu, kamna may be for anything, all the kinds of joys available in the world. Okay, are you independent of kamna? The moment you can practice independence, you are on the way to realizing philosophy.
So just to take this thought forward, and
yes.
What Mayur Bhai said, when we were talking, at the end of my life, what I decide, I choose that. And even as I recollect, I think it is in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagavan says that at the end of his life, the person who remembers me comes to me. Now, sometimes it becomes so easy that, and the other way of putting what you said is, we have taken this voluntary, and what happens at the end of the life, we decide at the end of at that point particular time. But practically, a person who has practiced lies, who has practiced deceit, who is dishonest, entire his life, it will not be possible for that person to love God or remember God at the end of the time. So that is the reason we have, because also discussed that the concept of Chitta Shuddhi, because this has to be practiced during the entire life. And just one thought that, which you said, that we have accepted this as voluntary, and you have been saying it. But sir, I would say that this thing, it may be voluntary, but as the Advait Vedanta or the Upanishads say, that this is because of my ignorance, that I am not. And just an example that you gave of getting entangled in these desires. So if in this life I am bound by all my desires, I'm never free even from that gulab jamun, at the end of my life, I will always be stuck to that gulab jamun only. So even at that point of time also, I will not be able to remember that God or trying to merge with him. So that is the limited point that I wanted to say. It may be voluntary, but it is out of ignorance that my happiness lies here in these objects of the world. So out of which I forget my true nature and ultimately do not merge with God.
So Ashok Bhai, here is where Hindu Dharma and conversation with God differs. Okay. Because as I have said, Gita is beautiful and I love Gita. But there are many sloks of Gita which I don't accept. And when it comes to finality, I would go more by conversation with God, because he says very clearly, all the constraints which you and I feel are during the lifetime, period. At the end of the life, not only even at the end of the life, what we call, of course, CWG says there is no end to life. It is a process which goes on and on and on. But what we call death, at the end of that death, you meet God. And God tells you, what do you want? Which means you meet yourself. And every time you have a choice. But let us say you have selected 200 lives. Okay. So then in those 200 lives, you will do everything. Okay. It is, for us, it is 200 lives, but it is only one length of a period. That length of a period in Brahman language is too short a period. For us, 200 lives is very long period. But for this 200 lives, you may feel constrained to be murderer. You may feel constrained to be politician. You may feel constrained to be whatever. But CWG says very clearly, you are free to make your choice. Once you have made a choice, you will act as per the choice and you will experience as per the choice. At the end of, or when you die, there is no hell. There is absolutely no hell. God does not punish anybody. God is not karma phal data. This is where it exactly goes opposite to Gita. In Gita, Krishna Bhagwan is said to be the karma phal data. Okay. Hindu Dharma says it that karma phal data. Mahavir Bhagwan rejected that theory. On what grounds God will give you X karma?
Sorry to interrupt you, but Bhagwan does not say that he is karma phal data, and it is always, because even when you take out the larger picture, what he says is, you are never punished for your sin. You are always punished by your sin. So that is because that's how we feel it. Bhagwan never say, maybe vocabulary may be like that I will punish you, because when we say in the smaller context, when we discuss that the principle of karma, it's always that you are never punished for your sin. You are always punished by your sin.
But even that only during the stage.
Yes.
As long as you are on the stage, the moment you go behind the curtain, it is the end of the story. If you
but the problem that arises there, sir, out of the stage, is when I'm playing that role of Jay and Viru, the example that you gave of Amitabh Bachchan, backstage, I live as Jay and Viru instead of Amitabh Bachchan.
Barabar, barabar. Yeah. As long as you live as an actor, you are constrained by the storyline.
Yes.
Right. Friends, if I had written about Vaman Avatar, so we have crossed 7 o'clock, but if you don't mind, in 5 minutes, I will tell you the story.
Yeah, continue. We are waiting.
Okay. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. See, I think the story is very famous, but by chance, if one person doesn't know, for the sake of completeness, I'll tell the story in 2 minutes. And the point which I want to highlight, that is most important, that I will elaborate. The story is Bali Raja was a non-Aryan king. Okay. And when the stories are written by Aryans, so everybody who is non-Aryan is a demon, Asur, Rakshas. Okay. So Bali Raja, Prahlad, everybody was Rakshas. Okay. I mean, Bali Raja was grandson of Prahlad. Gotcha. But Prahlad as well as Bali Raja were ardent worshippers, ardent bhakt of God Vishnu. Gotcha. Now Bali Raja was so powerful that he won over the kingdom of Indra, means Devlok bhi jeet liya. Okay. So then the devs went to so and so, and finally Vishnu Bhagwan came to control Bali Raja. And Bali Raja had started 100th Ashwamedh Yagna. So it is stated in Hindu mythology, if you complete 100 Ashwamedh Yagna, you become, what they say, nobody can win you. You become all powerful. That is when Vishnu Bhagwan came. A condition of the Ashwamedh Yagna is that you open the Yagna, there will be people who will come to seek donations from you, and you have to give him whatever he wants. No constraints, no limits, no conditions. If you can perform such a Yagna, then you get unlimited strength and all that. Okay. So Sukracharya is the guru of demons. Sukracharya is performing the Yagna. Mahabali is another name of Bali Raja. He is the Yajman, and it is going on. That is where Vishnu Bhagwan came in the avatar of a Brahmin, but a dwarf, a short Brahmin, maybe 3.5 feet or 4 feet. Okay. And he comes Bhiksam Dehi. That is the normal what Brahmins would say. Bali Raja looks at Vaman and he knows, at least he doesn't know that he is Vishnu himself, but he knows here is a very divine or pure and respectable Brahmin. So he, with folded hands, requests Brahmin, Brahman Devta, आप कहिए आपको क्या चाहिए? Whatever you want, I will give you. Sukracharya, being a great guru himself, he sees through the drama and he tells Bali Raja, अरे यार ये तो विष्णु है. He has come to cheat you. He has come to cheat all the Rakshas court. Do not give him anything. Throw him out. Bali Raja says, no, I have taken a vow to perform this yagna. I'll stick to my vow. And he tells that Brahmin that please ask for anything. Then Vaman says, Baba, I had not come here with any special desire. But since you are saying you give me land which can be measured in 3 steps. 3 steps मतलब कितना होगा? 6 फुट का जमीन. Okay. 6 फीट का जमीन. So as they say in philosophy, एक इंसान मर गया तो उसको दफनाने के लिए 6 फीट जमीन चाहिए. उससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं चाहिए. ठीक है. And Vaman asked for 6 feet of land. And Bali Raja tells him, क्या कर रहे हो ब्राह्मण देवता? आप मेरा अपमान कर रहे हो. मेरे पास कुछ ऐसा मांगो कि जिससे मेरी इज्जत बढ़े. ये क्या 6 फीट जमीन मांग रहे हो? आप चाहे तो मैं आपको 6 गांव दूं, 6000 गांव दूं, 6000 गोल्ड कॉइन दूं, कुछ भी दो. देखो देना है तो दो, नहीं तो मैं तो चलता हूं वापस. This is what Vaman tells. I mean, you know, these storytellers, they tell it in such a beautiful way. We enjoy the story. Okay. And I would recommend everybody, do not read any short stories written by anybody. Go to Srimad Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavat, the entire story is given in some 6 or 7 chapters. Okay, in such a beautiful way, because the original Rishi has written it very nicely. Our Dharma Gurus, when they tell that story during their katha and all that, they summarize it and they tell the dramatic aspect only. But the main message comes in Srimad Bhagavat. Okay. So finally, Bali Raja says, fine, I will give you 3 steps worth of land. So Vaman, meaning Vishnu Bhagavan, once Bali Raja makes that sankalp that I am giving you this land, then Vaman becomes Virat. Virat means huge. Virat means extremely large. Okay, actually Virat means it includes the entire universe. And then in one step, Vaman Devta occupies the entire earth. Second step, he occupies everything that is other than earth. Then he stands there and says, now where do I put my third step? So I'm cutting long story. I mean, those 6 chapters I am cutting into 6 minutes. So Bali Raja then bows down and says, I have to fulfill my promise. I have nothing left except my body. Here is my head. You put your third leg on my head. Okay. And then the storytellers, what they say is, Vaman Devta pushed Bali Raja into the Patal Lok. Okay. And the Devta, the Indra and everybody became free. And there they stopped the story. In Srimad Bhagavat, the story starts, the real message starts hereafter. Okay. And that is the beauty of the story. Vaman Devta says, that man who is not satisfied with 3-step land will not be satisfied with Trilok Rajya. आपको 3 लोक का राज्य मिलेगा तो भी satisfied नहीं हो. And Prahlad comes running when he knows, Prahlad meaning Bali Raja's grandfather. He was also an ardent follower of Vishnu Bhagavan. So when he knew that Vaman Devta has come here, he came running from there. He also bows down to Vishnu Bhagavan. And Vishnu Bhagavan says, your grandson stuck to truth. He followed the vow that he had made even when I made it impossible for him. Okay. Means he is my true bhakta. And my bhakta I will never punish with anything. And what Bhagavat uses is the wording is Bali Raja becomes the king of Sutal. Sutal is different from Patal. Sutal, as per Srimad Bhagavat story, is better than earth, better than Devlok also. So Bali Raja, together with Prahlad and all that, went to a higher place, a better place. He was not cheated, because I myself had earlier a feeling that ये विष्णु भगवान तो चालू है, जो कृष्ण भगवान भी cheating करता है, विष्णु भी cheating करता है. Okay, but that is not the story. The story, it says, जब बलि राजा के पास बहुत ऐश्वर्य आ गया, बहुत लक्ष्मी आ गई, बहुत सत्ता आ गई, तभी वो भगवान को भूल सकता था. तभी उसको अहंकार आ गया. उसको अहंकार आ गया, मगर मुझे भूला नहीं था. वो मेरा भक्त तो रहा ही. जब ही शुक्राचार्य ने उसे कहा कि ये विष्णु है, तो भी उसने अपना वाव तोड़ा नहीं. वो उसने परफॉर्म किया. तो जिसको, जो मेरा भक्त है, उसका अहंकार मिटाने के लिए ही मैं आया हूँ. उसका अहंकार मिटा दिया, बिकॉज ही बाउड डाउन बिफोर मी. तो अहंकार तो खत्म हो गया. Now that since he has followed truth through and through the impossible situation, he gets a better land. Okay, so I'm just summarizing it. It's a beautiful story. So Dinkar, we had a discussion on this, and really before I read Srimad Bhagavat, I thought that Vishnu is a cheater. And actually, you read. Dinkar, do you have Srimad Bhagavat with you?
Yes, I am having.
Now, I have purchased Srimad Bhagavat from Gita Press. Some nice lady has translated it into Gujarati.
Achha.
And in Gujarati, she is giving very detailed commentary on it and connecting with different, our resources of literature, and then explaining it that Vishnu Bhagwan came purely to release Bali Devta from his ego. The moment his ego was destroyed, he was given even better kingdom than what he was in.
I am having that Sastu Sahitya, Gujarati translation. Srimad Bhagavat.
કેટલા પાનાનો છે?
જબરે બે ભાગમાં છે, મોટા.
Okay, so હશેમાં, because Sastu Sahitya gives, yeah, it gives nicely. So 8mo skand એને કે છે. 8th skand, but of course you can look up at the that Anukramnika and then find it out. But read Vaman Avatar story, read the whole thing. It's a beautiful story. So my purpose of writing it in the email was, Dara Sikor story tells us that Advait is useful for practical life. This story I wanted to bring in to convey a message that Hindu stories, so many people reject it outright, saying, this is impossible. How can somebody live 1,000 lives? How can the son give life to his father? These are all absurdities. The message we have to read. We don't have to go by impossibilities. Impossibilities are built into the story to tell us that forget the story, go for the message. Just as your and my experience of constraints, limitations, difficulties, frustrations are built into our life by ourselves so that we experience divinity.
Sir, fully agreeing to it. Just one last point that I would say, that we should always do not reject these impossibilities, and there's the way we think, because we have a limited understanding. So be it any example of the Bali or even the starting that you gave of barbaric, I would say at its beginning we cannot rule it out. I give a practical example. Take for example, before a telephone was invented by Abraham Bell, and then suppose some years back or some days before that, a person would tell us that a day would come where we would be speaking on a mobile phone. Would we have believed that? So with our limited understanding, we would not have believed it. So similarly, what happened 5,000 years ago, or maybe when these things have been put into the story, or when we take example of Ramayana, then when Ramji returned to Ayodhya from Lanka, he walked on the speed of mind. So man ki gati se wapas aaye. So there are certain things which we cannot rule it out as on date with our limited understanding.
So, see, I will put a point here. We have to use our Vivek. Okay. So, first, Vivek means first thing, my knowledge is limited. I am nobody to judge. That is my first step. Second step, in the name of religion, the commercial dharma gurus have put into so many things, like say Manu Bhagwan, उन्होंने 4 कास्ट बनाई, 4 कास्ट बनाई तो शेड्यूल्ड कास्ट को हमने 5000 साल से एक्सप्लॉइट किया. Manu Bhagwan says woman is inferior to men, so mankind have exploited women. Now this is probably the largest exploitation of a single on a particular division, gender division, right? Now I reject Manu. Earlier I was finding it difficult to make this statement, but I read Gandhiji, and Gandhiji clearly said, I don't believe in Manu's philosophy, I reject it outright. Okay. And when Gandhiji had gone to Jagannath, the Puri, okay, he refused to enter Jagannath Puri temple because he said, if you do not allow a Harijan to enter this temple, I am not interested in entering. So those Brahmins were arguing that Shastras have said that Harijan are inferior. Okay. So Gandhiji said, show me. Can you show me any Shastra? Manu, I don't accept. Manu, I reject. Other than that, you show me Upanishad, you show me Mahabharata, you show me Ramayana. Now, when it comes to Ramayana, there is a story that Ram Bhagwan kills Sambuk, right? Why was Sambuk killed? Because he was a Harijan. I reject that story as having been inserted into Ramayana by commercial Dharma gurus. In Mahabharata, Dronacharya asked for the thumb of Eklavya, right? Why? Because Eklavya was a scheduled caste fellow. Okay. And then there are whole stories that Brahman ko tum ye karo, Brahman ko wo karo, unko sab daan dakshina deo. And in Mahabharata, as translated by even in Sastu Sahitya, it says, if a Brahmin comes to your house and he requests for your wife or your daughter, you should give it. Now, clearly, it is extreme Dharma gurus who have put these commercial stories inside the Mahabharata and Ramayana. And then they have been ruling India for last 5,000 years. I say, this is where you must bring in your Vivek. You kick out those Brahmins, you kick out those Dharma gurus, and follow the normal protocol of a decent person. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. So this is Vivek. I agree that we do not know enough. But if Raman Maharshi says something, Ramakrishna Paramahans, Vivekananda says something, even Chinmayanand Swami says something, I will believe it. But not these inserted stories in our religious literature. Sorry. Ashok bhai, tomorrow voice, you are muted.
A few meetings earlier on the same subject, you had explained that Manisha Panchakam, na? And yes. Shankaracharya, then Chandal asked Shankaracharya, yeah, whom are you asking to go away?
Correct. In 5 sloks, such a beautiful message given, yes, that Shankaracharya and Chandal are one and the same. Chandal and his dogs, 4 dogs, they also constitute Brahman. They are all same. So now if Adi Shankaracharya himself says that, what can we say? Okay, friends, shall we close? Or if there is anybody wants to make any comment or anything, we will talk further. Otherwise, we can close.
सर मैं 2 चीज बोलना चाहूंगा.
जरूर.
तो सर आपका रूटीन जरा सा हम लोगों को बताइए. आपके पास 48 आवर्स होते हैं या 96 आवर्स होते हैं, कैसे होते हैं? When do you study and when do you write the mail, when do you write on WhatsApp and other things, and still you are so fresh and doing professional work also, I think so.
Thank you Krishna. Thank you Krishna Kumar ji.
Another Narendra bhai.
मतलब बड़े ये भी एक रहस्य है सर, ये ब्रह्मांड के अंदर थोड़ा सा हमें समझ में आना चाहिए, तो उससे थोड़ी सी कोई प्रेरणा मिले, हम भी थोड़ा रूटीन ठीक करें.
मुझे कुछ समझना नहीं है, मेरे 2 पार्टनर अच्छे हैं, तो
वो पार्ट को साइड में छोड़ देते हैं, चलो हम उसको डिस्टर्ब नहीं करते हैं, पर उसके अलावा भी 99% रह जाता है सर उसकी बात भी।
कृष्ण भाई सही बात है, कभी 2:30 बजे मेल आता है कि रात को, कभी 3 बजे भी मेल आता है, कुछ तो है।
है ना सर? तो दिस इज नंबर 1 एंड नंबर 2 सर, ये लास्ट 4 से 6 महीने में आपने काफी कुछ लिखा है फिलोसफी ग्रुप में, व्हाट्सएप पे तो मैं हूं नहीं, वहां भी लिखा होगा। सो मतलब बहुत ही सिंसियरली रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा सर कि आप जो भी लिख रहे हैं ना सर, उनको पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट प्लीज कोई जरूर करना चाहिए उस चीज को सिस्टमेटिक वे में सर। उसको मतलब क्या रहता है सर, ये अचानक नहीं आते विचार, और ये जब आते हैं तो ये कालजयी विचार हैं। ये मतलब मैं इससे एग्री हूं या नहीं, अशोक भाई एग्री है या नहीं, वो मायने नहीं रखता है। मायने ये रखता है कि ये विचार सुरक्षित रहने चाहिए सर जो आप लिख रहे हैं उसके अंदर। सो ये एक बहुत बड़ा डॉक्यूमेंट होगा आने वाले टाइम में। सो मतलब बहुत सिंसियरली मैं कह रहा हूँ सर, इसको आप जैसे कोई भी तरीके
मैं
से।
तीन जवाब देता हूँ।
जी सर।
1, I agree it can be compiled into a book. Second, it will take a lot of time. It's difficult because just to say something is one thing, and I can compile everything in a continuous form, okay. But to then logically link in chapter wise and all that, it will take a lot of time. Third, whatever I have written, Krishna Kumarji can write even more. And Krishna Kumarji is following love and service. विचार पर किसी की मोनोपोली नहीं है। जो भी आदमी जो अच्छा जीवन जीता है, थोड़ा कुछ सेवा कर्म करता है, और जो प्रयत्न करेगा कि चलो मुझे ये तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद पढ़ना है, चलो 10 बार मैंने पढ़ा, 10 बार रख दिया, फिर 11th टाइम पढ़ा तो मुझे बहुत मजा आया। ऐसे जो इस चीज के पीछे लगे रहो, धीमे धीमे सब समझ में आ जाता है, और जब समझ में आया तो कुछ भी लिख सकते हो।
नहीं सर, ये बात से सहमत हूँ, लेकिन जैसे अशोक भाई जो चिन्मय महाराज जी के लिए जो एक मुश्किल से 20 सेकंड 15 सेकंड में इतनी इफेक्टिवली बात कह जाते हैं, 30 सेकंड में कह जाते हैं कि वो कई दिनों तक याद रहती है। तो उन्होंने बोला है, किसी ने उनको सुना है, किसी ने उसको लिखा है, डॉक्यूमेंट के फॉर्म में रखा है, फिर अशोक भाई ने उसको जाना है, समझा है, और फिर हमारे साथ शेयर करते हैं, और वो एक इंस्पिरेशन बनती है। तो ऐसे आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि व्हाटएवर यू आर राइटिंग और यू आर सेइंग एवरीथिंग, ईच एंड एवरी वर्ड शुड बी रिकॉर्डेड और डॉक्यूमेंटेड इन अ प्रॉपर मेटिकुलस स्टाइल। बट सर किसी न किसी फॉर्म में एक बार उसको रखिए। वी डोंट नो किस तरीके से आगे हम क्या करेंगे, मतलब हमें नहीं मालूम है फ्रेंकली स्पीकिंग, लेकिन आप कम से कम रखिए सर, क्योंकि रोज ईमेल का टाइम है सर, इतनी मेल आती है, मैं खुद इतने बना रखा है, फिर उसको रेफर भी नहीं कर पाता। तो मैं इसके अंदर काफी मेटिकुलस होते हुए मैसी हो गया पूरा हिसाब किताब इसमें पूरा। थोड़ा आप देखिए सर, कोई या अभय भाई कुछ या अशोक भाई कुछ गाइड करें।
मैंने आई थिंक व्हाट आई हैव डन इज, रश्मिन भाई का जितना भी ईमेल और वो है, मैंने एक कंपाइलेशन जैसा कुछ किया है अप टू 21, बाद में छूट गया है थोड़ा, बट मैंने 17 से चालू किया है। तो जितने भी नोट्स है और जितने भी ईमेल का जो वर्ड फाइल है, वो सब मैंने सेव किए है। I might have missed something, but I'm telling you, I have done. I will share it at some time.
बहुत बढ़िया।
एक रश्मिन भाई का ही फोल्डर है
सर, मैं तो सब भूल जाऊंगा, तो ये जो 3 बात आपने कही ना लास्ट में, वो पकड़ लूंगा। इतनी स्टोरी नहीं, जो आप बोलते हैं ट्रूथ है, लव है, सर्विस है, तो वो आसान है सर करना। ये चीजें जो आप बोलते हैं ठीक लगती है, बढ़िया है, लेकिन मान लो नहीं कंपाइल कर पाए, नहीं रेफर कर पाए, तो लास्ट में ये एसेंस है उसका, तो हम समझेंगे शायद आप यही कहना चाह रहे थे, तो बस बिल्कुल उधर ही ध्यान थोड़ा लगा के रखते हैं।
मैं अभय भाई से बोरो कर लूंगा कंपाइलेशन, और फिर थोड़ा प्रयत्न करूंगा उसको सिस्टमेटिक वे में रखने का। फिर प्रोबेबली मेरे 2017 के विचार और आज के विचार में फर्क भी हो सकता है, मगर दोनों रख देंगे कंपाइलेशन में।
नहीं, वो होगा सर, वो जायज है सर होना, बिल्कुल। हर लेवल पे चीजें चेंज होती रहती है। अभी कुछ दिन पहले ही मैं पढ़ रहा था सर कि जो हम सूरज को इतना बड़ा बोलते हैं, पृथ्वी से कई गुना बोलते हैं, तो जो ब्लैक होल की जो कॉन्सेप्ट बता रहे हैं, जो हम सुन रहे हैं अपनी गैलेक्सी के बाहर, उसकी साइज बताइए सर। उसकी साइज है सूर्य से 45 लाख टाइम। अकेले ब्लैक होल की साइज। नाउ समाउ दे हैव मेजर्ड, वो भी टेंटेटिव है, मतलब दैट कैन गो नेचुरली। और अभी रिसेंट में सर एक प्रोग्राम हुआ था, सॉरी 1 मिनट लूंगा दोस्तों खाली। एक हमने HR स्टडी सर्कल में एक प्रोग्राम रखा था सर, 30 जून और 1 जुलाई को, पावर ऑफ अट्रैक्शन, और उसमें जो हमारी ट्रेनर थी, फैकल्टी थी, शी वाज नाज चोगुले। बिलीव मी सर, एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी ह्यूमन बीइंग, एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी ट्रेनर, एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी, मतलब एनलाइटनमेंट किसी भी फील्ड में लीजिए। मतलब हमने तो एक ऐसे ही सोच के रखा था कि चलो कोई भी इस तरीके की नई विधा समझती है, मिलती है तो हम सीखते हैं, समझते हैं। उसका हम लोग बना रहे हैं, वीडियो बना है ऑलरेडी, उसको पूरा परफेक्ट बना के लिंक आपके साथ शेयर करूंगा सर। मैंने वो दोनों दिन आपको इतना याद किया, पूरे ग्रुप के साथ शेयर करूंगा, वो हम यूट्यूब पे भी डालेंगे उसको। सर इट्स वर्थ। 2 दिन का प्रोग्राम था, 2.5 घंटे का था, और 95% वही बोलती है और धारा प्रभाव बोलती है। एंड कोई प्रवचन नहीं है सर, मतलब हम उससे रिलेट करते हैं, जो आप कह रहे हैं जैसे आपसे रिलेट करते हैं, समझते हैं उसी तरीके से। सो हमारी स्टडी में वो भी काफी यूजफुल रहेगा, और काफी अपने को लगेगा तो उनको हम इनवाइट भी करेंगे। हालांकि उनका सब कुछ कॉमर्शियल है, जो फिलहाल जो कंपनी है जो और है वो ठीक है, इट्स ओके, दैट वो एक अलग पार्ट है उसमें, बट वो जबरदस्त है सर वो, मतलब उसके अंदर बिल्कुल। सो मैं मेंबर्स को रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहूंगा कि जब भी हमारा लिंक आ जाए, मैं शेयर करूं, तो आप जरूर वक्त निकाल के उसको सुनिए।
जरूर।
नाज चौगुले नाम है उनका, शायद नेट पे भी कुछ हो तो आप देखिए।
वो तो आप लिंक भेजेंगे तो हमें सब ख्याल में आ जाएगा ऑटोमेटिक, फिर देख लेंगे जरूर यूट्यूब पर।
जरूर सर, प्लीज।
अपना बीसीए का प्लेटफॉर्म पर यूट्यूब में रखोगे ना? ठीक है।
हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल रखें, वहां भी रखेंगे, बिल्कुल सर। यस,
बराबर।
उनसे परमिशन लिए उन्होंने, पहले ही उन्होंने हाँ कह दी थी, तो इसीलिए हमने रिपोर्ट किया प्रोग्राम को।
बहुत अच्छा।
हाँ
जरूर। ओके फ्रेंड्स, गुड नाइट।
थैंक यू सर।
Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone. Thank
Namaste,
you.
Pranam sabko. Thank you.
प्रणाम।
राम 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 राम।